Assalamu alaikum. So, uh, it's a beautiful morning in Lahore, and I just had my sehri. Well, uh, let me give you a brief background, my brief professional background. As in the previous videos, I did tell you that, I'm an academic, I'm a researcher, and I'm a teacher. But I'm a university teacher. I was full professor of economics at University of Management and Technology in 2015 while serving several years as an associate professor of economics. And as a teacher, what should be the best quality of a teacher? The teacher understand things better than their students, should understand things better than their students, and then he should be able to make the subject of economics, if I'm teaching economics, easy to understand, while economics might be taught in different ways, which represents the pedagogy. For example, in a classroom for a professor, teaching methods can represent lectures, it can represent training of students on case studies, it can represent writing of research papers, presentation of research papers by the students. So it's a lively class that represents a university class, both at bachelor's level and PhD level. So here I would like to make things as a teacher, professional teacher, uh, I would like to make things a little bit easier for my viewers to understand. For example, there might be impression that I'm making a lot of videos, but if you look at that, my first video was 2 days ago, and it's been like 10 videos. But if you can calculate the time I have spent in speaking, it is just about 1 hour. And as a professor or as a senior faculty member at University of Management Technology, one class that I used to conduct on economics, either for our bachelor students or our university PhD students, the duration of the class used to be 3 hours. So yes, indeed, in many of the classes, in any one subject, particular subject that I would be teaching, that would be a course, a PhD course or a bachelor's course, I used to be speaking for 3 hours non-stop. So you can imagine this is just, this spending like 2 days accumulated to be 1 hour is something which is very normal for me. It is rather quite simple and easy to speak for few minutes, and within 3 days to be able to speak in the videos for 1 hour. Now, for every lecture and for every course that I used to conduct at University of Management Technology, there used to be 15 lectures. And that would mean that the total teaching time of each course as a academic in a university would be 45 hours. And I used to be teaching 2 courses in one semester, which is 4-month semester. And that would make up 90 hours in 4 months. Now 90 hours is quite a significant time. I mean, you have to be, as a teacher, you have to be having that practice to spend quality time speaking and conducting other activities like case studies, presentations, research paper designs. While as an associate professor, I used to be teaching 3 courses, and that would be more than 100 hours of teaching in 4 months. Now, what I want to tell you is that if you look at my blogs at Substack and If you look at my blog at Medium, I started writing in 2023. If you look at my first blogs, they were the articles I wrote, the blogs I wrote. They were lengthy blogs, but if you start reading them, my first few blogs, you just have to spend 5 minutes for each blog post to read. And nearly I spent more than a year writing 5 minute blog post or a 10 minute blog post. And then slowly and steadily, even for an academic, even for a professional like me, even for a PhD, I had to practice writing. Writing takes a lot of time and expertise. It's not easy even to write a detailed blog post or a detailed article that somebody would just read it in 5 minutes. While for a few months, after working for more than 2 years, I could have writing abilities that I would be able to write 15 minutes long blog posts. What I mean is that I would write a detailed blog post on any of the subject I would be interested in, which is definitely economics, global politics, maybe science, physics, theoretical physics. The length of the blog post would be maybe 20,000 words. But if anybody would start reading it, they could read it in 15 or 20 minutes. So 1,000-page book that I am referring to, the lengthiest book I have written in my entire career, 48 years career, professional career, I could manage to write it in 3 months. I mean, my PhD thesis is mostly 100,000 words long. It's like 400 pages long. I mean, of course, I know it's a lot of technical writing, a lot of data analysis, so definitely it took me 5 years to write something which is 400 page long. And if you want to read it, it would take you 3 hours, just 3 hours. I mean, I spent 5 years writing a PhD thesis, which could have been, as a PhD student, I work day and night and then produce a manuscript, a PhD manuscript, which was 400 pages long, and it could have been read by a good professor. For example, my thesis supervisor, my thesis examiners, in just 3 hours. Now imagine that. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that, as viewers, and especially the young viewers, the students, even the students who are enrolled in their PhD program, you have to understand something about each profession to then really know how things work. Well, let me come back to 2024. Last year, it took me 3 months to write a 1,000-page manuscript. While imagine that it could have been read by an expert academic, an expert subject, the professor. It could have been read in, let's say, 5 to 6 hours. While you can imagine that being a professor many years ago, in 2015, I was conveniently conducting economics classes, expert economic classes, which is referred to as PhD economics classes, both in management sciences and in economics, while spending 3 hours in each class speaking, teaching my students different economic theories, application of different economic approaches which related to development economics, industrial economics, fiscal economics, as well as many of the economic themes would provide guidelines for management sciences students. For example, I was a Harvard Business School PhD affiliate, George Mason University pedagogy affiliate. So, of course, I had a good knowledge base and I could speak uh, for 3 hours every day and twice a week. And for one semester, I could easily spend 100 hours. Now imagine that. I mean, I have spent like 2 3 days. If you accumulate the time I have spent in making these videos, where I'm speaking these videos, is just barely 1 hour. So, of course, if I go by that speed, making short videos, discussing different theories of economics, different practical aspects of economics, or any of the themes I'm interested in, which can be culture, which can be religion, which can be sciences, which can be physics. It might take me a month, or it might take me 3 months to make 100 videos, which might be 5 minutes long to 10 minutes long. And again, even that wouldn't match the stamina, the expertise, and the level of participation that would be represented in my normal average PhD class at University of Management and Technology. Now, for young students, for young viewers, you should then start analyzing that. I mean, it took me many years. I was enrolled in a PhD program in my early 20s. I spent nearly 10 years, and what I was doing, thinking, writing, and reading. And I completed my PhD in 2008, spending a lot of time writing, a lot of time revising, a lot of time analyzing the data, collecting the data, reading materials, referencing sources, reading one of the best manuscripts, research manuscripts, academic manuscripts, written by Nobel laureates, professors of best universities of United States of America, Europe, Canada, Australia, while also reading Indian authors, Pakistani authors. And then, only then, I was able to complete a manuscript which is 400 page long and could have been read by an expert economist, an expert subject specialist in just 3 hours. And absolutely, I realized after few years that I could explain my PhD thesis in very simple words, in simple economics, that what is my real contribution to the subject in just 5 minutes. I mean, now you can start imagining that a teacher has a lot of patience. Yes, a teacher has a lot of knowledge, but a teacher should not make things complicated to the students. Yes, I was director, Office of Research and Innovation at Superior University and at Ghulam Ishaq Khan Engineering University. And there were so many PhD students. As a director ORIC of this university, I was managing engineering departments, I was managing management sciences, social sciences, and therefore I would be making processes, rules, regulations easier for students because I would understand how cumbersome it is, but then how simple and easy it is for a professor to then really go through all the time that a student has spent in writing quality PhD thesis. And therefore, I would openly tell people, instead of saying that, PhD is something out of ordinary, PhD is something which is kind of impossible to do for anyone, I would instead encourage my students, university students, and I would recommend to the higher management that, PhD programs should be structured as such that students should be able to conveniently complete their PhDs in a stipulated time period, which is 4 to 5 years. And then their real academic journey starts. So, of course, uh, the young students, the young participants, the young viewers should understand how what is the difference between learning and what is the difference between professionally contributing after getting a university degree. You can be professionally contributing towards your professional life. I mean, you could be an MBA, you could be a PhD graduate, and then one starts a professional life, which could be consulting, which could be a management position. While the young students, the young graduates should show respect and patience to understand the hard work put in by everyone who is leading a professional life. For example, a PhD graduate should have patience for somebody who is just an MBA but has 10 years of working experience. And therefore, if you increase the spectrum, I would be advising the youth to respect the politicians who have spent their lives working for the rights of the people, struggling to restore democracy, struggling to establish citizen rights. And these politicians might look young. For example, we have one of the most brilliant, one of the most amazing politicians, young politicians, Maryam Nawaz Sharif and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari at national level. And there are so many young political leaders in their teams. And they represent many years working in politics as a professional politician. If you listen to them, if you spend time understanding them, you would realize how much hard work they have put in. And therefore, at national level, they might be dealing with expert economists like me, expert PhDs, expert professionals, engineers, management gurus, and then finding ways how to apply, for example, an academic's point of view to then make a policy which can change lives, for example, lives of the poor, or improving business atmosphere, or carrying out effective diplomacy. While if you look at their professional routines, it is spent in meeting people, everyday people, people from all spectrum of their lives. Every day they would be meeting people, they would be dealing with professionals like me, they would be making policies through meetings, and then they would be spending their day speaking in public forums. They would be speaking in media in the evenings, they would be speaking in giving speeches, they would be guest of honor, they would be meeting diplomats, international diplomats, and spending more than 12 hours of their day in doing that, while they will still be held accountable for the success of their policies, and definitely would be representing a certain constituency which would determine their popularity. So, I would conclude this blog post, this video, by suggesting that Pakistani nation should cherish democracy and they should cherish their political leaders. Every leader at every level is something of a gift to the Pakistani nation. And the politician is made through their own hard work, ingenuity, and sincerity to the cause of welfare, development, progress of their constituency, people in their constituency, and Pakistani nation. So we should be respecting our politicians, and to understand how and why we should respect our politicians, one should just, as a professional academic, I have just explained it to you how complicated things might look. I mean, you can imagine that, oh, Dr. Daud Mamoon has written maybe 20 books. I have collaborated with ChatGPT and written a book which is 30,000 words and 100 pages long in one day. While you can read it, any good professional can read it in 1 hour's time. So that's how simple things are. I mean, for students, even I am at a level of professional expertise that I can supervise students and guide them to write something totally different and new for that would contribute to their subject. Being an economist, I'm specialized to develop ideas, to develop concepts, to develop designs, and to develop plans. That might take me 1 year, but just to read it, just to explain it, it might take me less than 1 hour. So one has to understand the strengths of each profession. Every person who has experience, who has spent at least 10 years of their lives in a certain profession, needs to be respected by the youth. You can imagine a normal worker, a normal policeman, a normal soldier, a medical staff, a normal technician. Who is going to give them respect and economic empowerment? Definitely it is the politician. Once, it is established, as I logically did that, you can imagine what is the status of national level leaders, and then what is the status and what is the talent and how hard work it represents for being the prime minister of a country with kind of an exposure, diplomatic, technical, expert policy oriented exposure a prime minister would have. And therefore the office of the prime minister, the president, their cabinet, chief minister office, these office represents high responsibility positions. These office represent, it's not a fluke to be a national leader. There's a lot of purpose, hard work, sincerity, and ingenuity being put by a political leader to be a national level political leader. So I hope that for the young readers, that they should have patience and respect for politicians. And the same goes for every profession. So let's pray and let's hope that Pakistan, we have a bright future for democracy.